Hello, this is a special one for me today. Not only am I reviewing an absolute classic, The Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead, but I saw it in cinemas the other night. There's my ticket. Not sure if you can see it, but take my word for it, very genuine. I was very grateful for the opportunity to see this on the big screen. Not sure the local populace near me quite had the same enthusiasm. There must have been capacity for 40, 50 people in this screening, even with social distancing, and there were 7 of us there, and 2 of those left halfway through. I mean, it's just cultural ignorance, really, isn't it? If you're not familiar with the plot of the film, there are 5 youngsters, 2 men, 3 women, who go for this trip to this cabin for the weekend or an unspecified amount of time. And while they're there, they unwittingly awaken these slumbering demons who start to take over their bodies and force them to attack each other, and battle is joined. Now, this film, the first thing to say about it, it is just completely unrelenting from the word go. I mean, we don't pick up the action in this movie way back in these characters' driveways as they're packing fishing rods into the back of the car and going, "Hey, see you tomorrow. It's a long 3-hour drive. Gotta get there by midnight to stay in the hotel before we even get there." No, there's no big long journey to get to the action. We are literally straight into it. We pick things up as they're about maybe half a mile from the cabin, if that. That's what it feels like anyway. And we don't even get to relax for that half an hour. There's this log truck thing that almost knocks them off the road straight away. We see it coming before the car does, so we think there might be an accident just to kick the film off. Also, weirdly, as this is going on, there's this weird point of view shot of what is presumably a demon weaving between the trees just quite close to where the near accident happens. And we're like, what the hell is that? Then we get into the cabin itself, and this whole dinner table scene starts where they're all sat there and you're thinking, okay, maybe the film will breathe a little bit now and we'll get to know the characters a bit. No, I don't think this scene goes on for more than about 30 seconds before this trapdoor flips up in an adjacent room, and they're all quickly piling down there to then discover this doomsday book thing and a tape recorder, which then allows them to accidentally release the demons and start taking them over. And once this process begins, I mean, it's all action horror from there on in. It's really crazy stuff. And the makeup and the practical effects that have gone into these characters when they become demons, it's just absolutely fantastic for a low-budget film. And you think with there not being much money that there'd be a lot of filler, a lot of conversational filler, and then 1 or 2 little action scenes that took a lot of effort and time and money. But no, it feels like half the movie. It's just this one long running pitched battle between humans and demons. It's really amazing. And I think most of it takes place in this front room of the cabin. I presume that it was easier to film in there because it's probably the biggest room in the place. I don't know. As far as I know, they filmed the entire thing in this cabin on location. There was no set, so maybe it was just easier in that front room. There's a little bit in the garden out front as well, but I can't even describe these confrontations and how bloody and gory and violent they are. I mean, there's blood gushing everywhere, there's demon goo gushing, there's people getting stabbed in the ankles with pencils, there's eyes getting clawed out, there's limbs getting cut off, there's demons getting burned in the fireplace. All these weapons just happen to be lying around, chainsaws and shotguns and knives and God knows what else. It's just bonkers. And you know what? If this film had been called Splatterhouse, it would not have been unearned. It's seriously just unbelievable, and I love it. It's great. The sound is fantastic. It's really in your face, the sound. It feels like they've deliberately made the sound effects louder than maybe probably they should have been. I mean, it's like listening to a heavy metal track, this film, and you know it's too loud for your ears, but you just keep on listening to it anyway because you're enjoying it that much. We get an early indication of what the sound is going to be like in this movie when they first turn up at the front door, and there's this porch swing that's just banging against the side of the cabin because presumably the wind's doing it. I don't know, it could be the demons, but it's going thump, thump, thump. And it's really unsettling because the characters are just stood there sort of taking it all in. It's as if they're having a sort of moment of intuition that all is definitely not right with this cabin. So sound in this film, top marks. There's also some great work with the camera effects. I mentioned the point of view thing with the camera at the start. There's loads of shots like that. I don't know if they're using a dolly or it's just a guy running with a camera literally, but there's just so many. There's a really good one where the camera's looking through the window of the cabin at these 2 characters, and then it just starts drifting sideways to this next window and looks in at another couple of characters. I don't know if this bit was meant to be a demon or if it's just the camera work trying to be clever. And then I think it goes to a 3rd window as well. Just really imaginative way of filming. And there's one earlier on when, just as the car's pulling up the driveway to sort of get them all to the cabin, the camera sort of hovers above the car and does this kind of glide shot. And the cool thing about this is it allows you to see the surrounding hillside, and I'd say they really scouted an amazing location for this film because it just looks so cool in that shot. I mean, I don't think that they're meant to be more than about a mile from the highway where they started, and yet it still manages to feel like an isolated place that they're at, because I think they have to go up this hill and across this really dodgy bridge, which is the only way into the cabin area. And then the cabin itself is just on this kind of slanted bit of hill, which feels really kind of awkward in terms of the layout of the land. And the cabin, it's like this rickety old thing that looks about 100 years old, but it's just perfect for horror. It really is. And the surrounding woods, I don't know if it's just an accident of the time of year they film, but they look creepy as hell. If this is what woods look like in Tennessee, then they should try and shoot more horror films in Tennessee. Although, bizarrely, they don't actually make that much use of the woods. One or two scenes outside, but the majority of the runtime is just sort of inside the house, so to speak. But from a technical standpoint, this film, I mean, sound, makeup, special effects, camera work, I mean, they should literally show this film to film students so they can learn all these arts, because they're just absolutely masterful in this movie. Really, really good. The main character, obviously, is Ash, played by Bruce Campbell. I say obviously because he's a very, very famous protagonist in horror. Even I was aware of this guy before I'd ever seen The Evil Dead. And he's like this everyman who sort of has to summon his inner Sylvester Stallone to survive this night. And I just love seeing the reactions on his face whenever the demons do something new that he's not seen before, and then he has to deal with that new threat. There's a bit early on, again, I go back to the scene where they're just coming up to the cabin for the first time, that the wheel of their car gets stuck on this bridge. And they must be able to see out the window that there's this little drop, but Ash sort of just opens the door and goes, oh, and shuts the door back up again. It's just this really funny moment of comedy, and there are some funny bits throughout the movie. I think it wasn't really until Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness where the comedy started to get really heavy, but it was definitely present in the original one. In the screening I was in the other night, there's this bit where this demon gets pushed down these cellar stairs, and for like half an hour afterwards, this demon can do no more than just stick its head slightly out of the floor because it can't get past the trapdoor thing. And every time a character walked past this trapdoor and the demon went, ah, everybody was laughing in the cinema. And I'd never previously thought this was funny on the previous times I watched the movie, but this time, because they were laughing, I suddenly saw the funny side of it. And now, every time I watch this film, I'm going to think that that bit is really funny as well. The rest of the characters don't really get to make as much of an impression, mainly because they get bumped off really easily. But I guess that we needed some of them to be demons so we would be able to start the battles, if you see what I mean. There's this slightly dodgy scene, which may be my only even slight criticism, where there's, I guess you'll call it a rape by tree, which I know has had a little bit of criticism in the past in certain articles I've read, but I mean, I don't see too big a deal out of it. It's not as if the camera lingers there and there's too much violence. She's able to run away at least. That's something. And I guess this scene was sort of important just to show how unpredictable and chaotic that the demons would be in this film. I mean, they don't act in a really regimented and patterned way like the demons from Dario Argento's Demons. You know, they're just, you just don't know what they're going to do. They're so unpredictable. There's this one demon who literally just parks her ass in this doorway, and instead of attacking outright like the other demons, just sits there and sort of cackles and mocks Ash, like, ah, you're going to join us, and stuff like that. Eventually she does attack, but it's just that unpredictable nature that just adds a little bit more. So on the whole, this film is literally amazing. I can't even talk up how great it was to see it in the cinema. This was the third time I've seen it. Previous two was at home, but on the big screen, absolutely wonderful. And let's get the bag of terror out, because I've got a feeling this could be a good score today. Lots and lots of axes. 1, 2, could it be a full house? 3, 4, 5 bloody axes for the Evil Dead. Masterpiece status. Yep, I thought long and hard. I wasn't sure, you know, it took me a long time to come to the conclusion, but you know what, I thought, definitely, I think it justifies it. And crazily enough, I did not discover this film or this series until I was already in my 30s. Took a long time, but I got there in the end. But what a great movie. This is the version that I have at home. It's just the very, very basic DVD that I presume has been out a long, long time now. There is a 4K version coming out, I believe, just before Christmas, which is going to have a commentary on from Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and loads of documentaries. I'd love to get that. I'm looking at getting a 4K player that I can actually play it on very soon, hopefully, because there's a Friday the 13th collection that I really want as well. The only thing I'll say is I'm not sure that a 4K restoration will necessarily make it that much better. I'm looking forward to the documentaries and that kind of stuff, but 4K, I kind of feel like this film is the sort of thing that I don't really want a spotlight shining on all the special effects. I think in its rough cut form, I think it's already great as it is. I mean, I was wondering if it would be touched up when I saw it at the cinema, but as soon as it came on, I knew that it was just the rough, raw, edition that probably was on the original screenings back at the cinema in the old days. But that was fine because it just looks so... I feel like it should be shown in its rough, raw form, The Evil Dead. But I'll see. I'll see what the 4K version's like when I finally get round to watch it. Now, we do have a pin for the horror locations board today, and it's one for Tennessee. I never thought I'd get to put a pin in Tennessee on this map, but thank you, Evil Dead. You've allowed me to tick one off there that might have otherwise been difficult. So I'll add that clip onto the end, but other than that, I guess I'll be back soon to do the Evil Dead 2 review, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Now, it's said that this film takes place just over the border from Tennessee, but it doesn't really say where, and there are about, 8 different states bordering Tennessee, so literally I'm just going to guess. We'll pretend that they're coming over from Missouri, so I'll put the pin in Tennessee, quite close to that borderline. Anybody has any idea what state they're meant to be coming from, let me know, but anyway, it's nice to have a pin for Tennessee.